Okay, so I was really excited for this one and waiting for this one since yesterday because Trigger was mentioned right here on Silver Soldier Ambi, and she's here. Trigger is finally here, and she's someone that I've been expecting since her mention on the Soldier 11 story quest. Why? She's a sniper. Like, come on, this is so cool to think about it. Especially in Zenless Zone Zero. Like, getting a sniper in Zenless Zone Zero is really huge. What surprised me, actually, is the fact that she's going to be an electric stunner. And this was completely, like, unexpected for me. I was really thinking something like DPS, off-field DPS thing. I even mentioned yesterday on my Ambi video. But, well, she's going to be a stunner. And this is actually quite interesting when you come to think about all the implications this brings to the game. There are some other lore bits here, such as Yanagi mentioned that Trigger also loves red bean buns. And there's this one, which is really good. Knowing there's no shore at the end of the sea of suffering is precisely why rowing across it becomes the proof of our existence. A synthesized voice of someone once marked as deceased. Is this Ambi? Like, I have no idea. Like, Ambi is coming back from the dead, ? I'm going to leave this one for all the lore fans. Feel free to leave your theory on the comment section down below. We also have this other one here. Grant peace to the living and speak for the dead. So, really cool character. Looking forward for her, and I'm definitely pulling her. But hype aside, let's cool down a little bit and focus on the actual value Trigger can probably provide to the game and your account, right? That's usually what I like to do whenever they reveal a unit. Electric Stunner, electric kind of really good value, probably for Ambi. There's no way they're not going to make Trigger not work with Ambi, especially since both of them are electric units, right? But there's also another really cool and interesting thing. But first, let's take a look on the current stun roster, right? We have like 2 burst stunners, which is Lighter and Koleda, and then we have Chinyi, which is really on field. She wants to stay on the field, you want to feel her bar and benefit from her core skill when stunning the enemy. And then we have Lycan and Ambi, which kind of benefits if you decide to field them for a little long time and use the core skill to the maximum as well. Basically speaking, like, burst stunners are going to work really well with sustained DPS units because you don't want to steal their field time. And sustained DPS are kind of going to work better with a more burst related character, because this way you can guarantee that during the burst window of your DPS, you're going to deal the maximum amount of damage you can. And while the DPS is cooling down, you just feel the stunner so it can stun once again, and then your DPS deals a lot of damage. That's how things work. We're getting 2 stunners on 1.6, and this kind of makes me think that we're shifting towards an attacker meta. We're leaving the anomaly meta that was kind of created around the 1.1 since Jane release, and then anomaly on every single patch. But well, that's because there was pretty much no anomaly units, right? And now we're getting a lot of attackers and also a lot of stunners, which means that we're probably going to shift towards a more crit-based attacker units, unless they decide to cook something new and bring attacker without crit scaling. For now, talking about the both stunners that we're getting on 1.6, I believe that Poker is going to be an A-rank burst stunner. Why? Because the only other A-rank that we have in the game is like an on-field stunner, right? So Poker is probably going to be a burst stunner. This way you can play around sustained DPS units without needing to work towards a limited stunner or an S-rank stunner. You can just use Poker, and that's probably how she's going to work. Now, about Trigger, because this is the main point of this video, right? Now, talking about Trigger, I believe she's going to be something entirely new. So if you, for some reason, thought like, oh my gosh, they are power creeping Chinyi is so hard because they are just releasing another electric stunner. Hear me out. Trigger is not going to power creep Chinyi. And let me explain exactly why I think this. Chinyi is like a huge generalist stunner that easily synergizes with burst stunners. That's because, for example, Juyuan, you need to stun enemy in order to get the maximum potential of Juyuan, and then use Chinyi to increase even further the potential during the stun window by increasing the stun damage multiplier. So really huge stunner for any burst DPS. But when it comes to sustained DPS, the only burst stun that we have in the games like Coleda and Lighter. Since Soldier 11 and Trigger are like really related on the story, because on the story like Trigger is giving support for Soldier 11 while she's on the back line, and Soldier 11 is like on the front line, slashing out the enemies, really good sustained DPS, right? So, what this means? This means that Trigger is going to be a burst stunner? I don't think so. I think Trigger is actually going to be something entirely new for the stun archetype. And I'm talking about something like Bernice. I'm talking about something like Astra. Do you get it? Yep, I'm talking about off-field stunners. Something that is going to mark down enemies, and Trigger is basically going to appear, consistently give you daze potential without removing field time from your sustained DPS units. Which sounds really cool. Like, makes no sense for you to get a sniper that is going to stay on the field and work on the front line. Like, lore-wise, when you look at the Soldier 11 story, Trigger stays on the back line offering support. So, Trigger is definitely going to be either a burst stunner or something new, as I mentioned, an off-field stunner. And I'm really looking forward for this. One kind of collateral damage, not exactly damage is not the right word, but one collateral benefit here would be for LM players, which kind of changed the evaluation here on the first half of the 1.5. But don't quote me on this one. Don't quote me on this one, and if you decide to pull Ellen, it's because you like the character, okay? I still feel that Miyabi is way better right now. It's a whole new power level, but there's the possibility of a Trigger increasing Ellen's value, especially if a Trigger ends up being an off-field stunner, as I mentioned. This way, you can, for example, keep Ellen on the field, and Trigger is going to provide daze potential in the back line. I don't think it's going to be like a huge buff for Ellen, because right now we already have Lighter, which is a burst stunner that can increase Ellen damage potential. So there's also the possibility of Trigger being an electric specialized stunner, which in this case means she's going to have a high synergy with Ambi. She's also going to have a high synergy with Harumasa, Anton, maybe even Yanagi. Because if you take a look here on Trigger Reveal, you see Yanagi being mentioned here. So there's a huge possibility of Yanagi actually getting some kind of interaction and potential with Trigger on the team. I'm going to leave these thoughts up to you, right? My job here is just telling you what is on my mind, and I'm all in. If Trigger is going to be an off-field stunner, this is going to be so good. Quick talk about pool evaluation for the current patch and what Trigger is going to change. I believe that for the first half, nothing changes. Astra is still what you should look for because her potential is insanely good for any DPS in the game. Highly recommend getting Astra. And Ellen, well, Ellen is only if you like the character. Okay, Ellen's only if you like the character. Don't pull her because I mentioned something about Trigger. Just don't do this. And for the second half, we're going to get Evelyn and Chinye. And my suggestion is just wait until the 1.6 special program. Just wait. Because we're getting like a scenario of DPS versus DPS, Evelyn versus Silver Ambi, and then we have a stunner versus stunner. Chinye right now, consistent and really good generalist stunner. And then we're going to get Trigger, which we don't have no information, but assuming she's going to be an off-field stunner, Chinye and Trigger are not going to compete for each other because they are going to serve different purposes on team compositions. Okay, but just wait, hold your pulse, wait until the 1.6 special program. This is what I'm going to do because depending on how things go, I'm probably going to skip Chinye and just go straight for Trigger. Trigger release here actually kind of confirms what I mentioned yesterday, that Silver Ambi is going to be Silver Ambi, Soldier Ambi. I have no idea how I should call her. Soldier Ambi is going to be a sustained DPS. Yep, that's it. We're going to get a sustained DPS, probably an off-field stunner on the 1.6. Anyway, that's enough. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, or just feel free to join my Discord server and send all your thoughts over there as well. We usually chat about things like this. I share theory craft and early calculations for my guides over there. So links down in the description. Feel free to click and join it. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Have a beautiful day. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.